Properties of exponents are next on our agenda. So here is a summary of all of those properties that we were just talking about. If you multiply like bases, you add the exponents. That's what that one means. If you divide like bases, you subtract the exponents. If you have a negative exponent, you flip it over. If you have a power to a power, you multiply the powers. If you have a product to a power, you distribute, quote unquote, distribute each factor to that power. The same thing is true if you have a quotient. Quotient just means divide. If you have a quotient to a power, it's like you raise each of those to that power to come up with this one. Okay, so how about these? I think we have about 4 more problems to go. You have all of this raised to the 0 power. What is anything to the 0 power? 1. That one was too easy, wasn't it? Oh, I think B is going to make up for it. Okay, let's see what's going on here. So in B, we have all of this raised to a -1. That means all of this needs to go to the denominator. We have this z that's raised to a -3, so it also needs to go to the denominator. We have this z raised to a negative, which means it needs to go to the numerator. And then we have a positive exponent here, so that one just stays where it is. Let's take care of all that moving around business first. Okay, first this parentheses, x to the 4th y squared. That was raised all to the -1 power. So when we move it to the denominator, it's just raised to the 1st power. So we don't really need it anymore. Z to the -3 also comes down here and becomes a +3. X to the 5th stays in the denominator, but z to the -4 has to go to the numerator because it has a negative exponent. Okay, let's do some simplifying. Here we have 4 z's. Here we have 3 z's. Well, 3 of these will reduce with these 3, leaving only 1 z in the numerator. How about the denominator? We have x to the 4th and x to the 5th. Like bases, we add the exponents. Then we have y squared. We already took care of the z. So this is our simplified answer. Oh, how about C? Okay, all of this is raised to a negative exponent, so we need to move the whole thing to the denominator. Same thing with this one. We need to move the whole thing to the numerator. All this is raised to the 0 power, so this is just 1. We don't even need to worry about that one anymore. Okay, so let's rewrite everything first. xy, once we move it, the exponent becomes positive. Then -4, x to the 5th, y to the -2. But once we move all of that, the 3 becomes positive. So let's take care of these exponents on the outside of the parentheses. This would become x squared, y squared. Okay, -4 to the 3rd power. Remember, the negative is on the inside of the parentheses, so it gets raised to the 3rd power also. That would become a -64. X to the 5th cubed becomes x to the 15th. Y to the -2 cubed becomes y to the -6. Don't forget about the power to a power rule. If you have a power to a power, you multiply the powers. Okay, so we have to take care of this -6 right here. So we have x squared, y squared, and we move the y to the 6 to the numerator. We have a -64 x to the 15th still in the denominator. Let's do a little bit more simplifying. We have an x squared here and an x to the 15th here. That means 2 of these are going to reduce. They're going to reduce to 1. So for x's, we're going to have 13 of them left in the denominator. In the numerator, we have y squared times y to the 6th. We're multiplying like bases, so we add the exponents. Y to the 8th. You can also write this as y to the 8th over 64x to the 13th with the negative either stuck outside, or you could even put it in front of the y to the 8th. Normally, you would not leave it in the denominator. You would either put it out front or put it in the numerator. Okay, last problem. We have all of this raised to the second power, and then we have all of this raised to the negative 1 power. So let's take care of that negative 1 power first. Okay, I moved the whole thing to the denominator. Now we can raise all of these to the second power. So 9 squared is 81. X squared squared is x to the 4th. Z to the negative 3 squared would be z to the negative 6. Okay, I don't believe 81 over 4 will reduce, so we'll keep those numbers. But the x to the 4th reduced to 1. How about the z to the negative 6? We'll need to move that to the denominator. So we'll have 81 in the numerator. Oh, there's my dog again. I'm really sorry. 81 over... I'm really sorry about that. Okay, so 81 over 4y. The y didn't have an exponent, right? No, it didn't. And then move the z to the denominator and you get z to the 6th power. This will be completely simplified.